My name is Clara. When it all happened, I was 15 years old and lived with my mom and my younger brother Gabriel in a coastal city in the South. We weren't rich, but we didn't lack anything either. We lived in a simple house with 2 bedrooms and a small backyard where my mom grew herbs and some flowers that she called remedies for the soul. My mom worked as a nurse on the night shift at the municipal hospital. She left at 6 in the evening and only came back in the morning, with a tired face, but always with a forced smile for me and Gabriel. I took care of my brother when she wasn't there. I prepared dinner, helped with homework, put him to bed. At just 15 years old, I had already learned to be an adult before my time. Gabriel was 8 years old and was a sweet but restless child. He was bullied at school for being too skinny and quiet. I saw the marks, the bruises he tried to hide, the torn notebooks. My heart ached for him, but I didn't know how to help beyond being present, making his favorite dish, sitting next to him while we watched cartoons that I had already outgrown but pretended to be interested in just to see him smile. I was always an observant girl, one of those who notice details that others ignore. I saw when my mom forced a smile even when exhausted. I noticed when she looked at her phone waiting for a call that never came. I noticed when she went to the bathroom to cry quietly, thinking no one was listening. I was listening. I always heard everything. I felt things before they happened. It wasn't anything mystical or supernatural in a fantastic sense. It was more like a sharp intuition, a chill in my stomach that came from nowhere, a tightness in my chest for no apparent reason. Once, I woke up in the middle of the night certain that something had happened to my grandmother. 3 hours later, my mom received the call. She had fallen and broken her femur. Things like that happened frequently. My maternal grandmother, Dona Beatriz, lived 2 blocks from our house. Before being bedridden, she spent almost every afternoon with us. She was a woman of faith, one of those who prayed the rosary every day, but who also believed in dreams, signs, energies. She said I had the gift of perception, that I was an indigo child, that I had come into the world with a mission. I didn't fully understand. I only knew that the world was more intense, more alive, and more painful for me than it seemed to be for others. My grandmother died when I was 13. Lung cancer. I was with her until the end. I held her hand when she took her last breath, and I swear I felt something leave her, a lightness in the air, a warmth that passed through me and disappeared. No one believed me when I told them. They said it was trauma, the pain of loss, but I knew what I had felt. My father had left us when Gabriel was born. My mom never went into details, but I heard whispered conversations, muffled fights, slamming doors. One day he was there, the next he wasn't. Simple as that. He just left one morning and never came back. He didn't call, didn't send a letter, didn't send money. It was as if we had ceased to exist for him. My mom never spoke badly of him in front of us. She had this silent dignity, this strength that I only came to understand later. But I saw the hurt in her eyes every time someone asked about him. Every time Gabriel innocently said he wanted to meet his father. I learned early not to ask certain questions. I also learned to be strong, or at least to appear so. At school, I was an average student. I didn't get bad grades, but I didn't stand out either. I had friends, yes, but none really close. It was hard for me to truly connect with other girls my age. They talked about makeup, boys, parties, Netflix shows. And me? I thought about how to pay the electric bill, how to make the food last until the end of the month, how Gabriel was feeling at school. I preferred to stay in the library during break. I read a lot. Novels, poetry, but also books about spirituality, other dimensions, near-death experiences. Yes, I read about it long before I lived it. I had a strange fascination with the subject. I devoured books like Life After Life and Proof of Heaven. Something inside me resonated with those stories. It was as if my soul already knew that one day I would experience something similar. I also wrote. I had an old diary with a blue hardcover that my grandmother gave me on my 12th birthday. In it, I put everything. My fears, my doubts, my strange dreams, poems that no one would ever read. Writing was my way of processing the world, of organizing the chaos I felt inside me. I drew too. I wasn't good, but I liked it. Faces, landscapes I saw in dreams, symbols that appeared in my mind without explanation. I had a notebook just for that. Pages and pages of drawings that only made sense to me. 3 weeks before everything happened, something changed. I began to have a feeling of urgency that I couldn't explain. It was as if time was accelerating, as if something big was approaching and I needed to prepare. But I didn't know how, or for what. The dreams changed too. I always had vivid dreams, but those were different. More real, more intense. I dreamed that I was in a completely white room, without doors or windows. Always the same place. And there was always a woman with her back turned calling my name. Clara, Clara. The voice was sweet, familiar, but I couldn't see her face. Every time I was about to get close to her, I woke up, heart racing, hands sweating, a strange feeling that it wasn't just a dream. I wrote everything down in my diary. Date, time, every detail I remembered. I reread it later and saw the pattern. The dreams became clearer each night. The first time, the room was blurry. By the 5th time, I could see every detail. The wall textures, the light that came from nowhere. I also began to feel an inexplicable urgency to get close to the people I loved. I hugged my mom more times that week than the entire year. I told her I loved her, that she was the best mom in the world, that I would be nothing without her. She was surprised, laughed, said I was being needy, but I felt I needed to say that. With Gabriel, the same thing. I started sitting with him every night before sleep, talking about his day, telling stories I made up on the spot. I told him one night that no matter what happened, I would always be with him. He looked at me with those big eyes and said, "Are you going to die, Clara?" My heart clenched. "No, silly. I'm just saying I love you." I called my childhood best friend Julia, who hadn't talked to me for months because she had moved to another city. We spent hours on the phone, remembering, laughing, crying. When I hung up, I felt a strange peace, as if I had closed a cycle. On Saturday, a week before it happened, I spent the entire day cleaning the house, organizing my things, throwing away old papers. My mom found it strange. "Since when do you like cleaning?" I laughed, but inside I knew. It was as if my body knew that time was running out, that something big was about to happen. On Monday, I started feeling a mild headache. Nothing much. I took a painkiller and went to school normally. But the pain didn't go away. It kept increasing, until Wednesday I could barely open my eyes. On Thursday, March 12th, I woke up and the world was spinning. The headache was unbearable, as if someone was hammering my skull from the inside. I tried to get up and fainted. My mom found me on the bedroom floor. She took my temperature, 101.7 degrees. "It's just a bad flu, honey. You'll be fine." She gave me fever reducer, put me in bed, left water and crackers on the nightstand. She had to go to work. Her shift was essential. Gabriel stayed at the neighbor's house, Donna Teresa, an elderly lady who always helped us when we needed it. In the afternoon, the fever rose. 102 degrees, 103 degrees, 104 degrees. I was shaking, sweating, delirious. I saw shadows in the room, heard voices. I tried to grab my phone to call my mom, but my hands wouldn't obey. And then, the seizures began. I remember my body thrashing alone, foam coming out of my mouth, the sensation of being electrocuted from the inside. I remember falling from the bed, the sound of my head hitting the floor. Donna Teresa found me. She had come to bring soup, thought it strange that I didn't answer when she called. She broke down the door. She saw me on the floor, convulsing. She screamed, called the ambulance. The paramedics arrived in 6 minutes. I remember flashes, the siren cutting through the afternoon silence, flashing red and blue lights, male voices shouting, "Bacterial meningitis, critical patient, needs ICU." I remember them checking my pulse, putting a mask on my face, being thrown onto the stretcher. I remember seeing the sky through the ambulance window. It was blue, clean, with few clouds. I thought, what a beautiful sky to die under. My mom arrived at the hospital 10 minutes later. A work colleague recognized me in the emergency room and called her immediately. She dropped everything and ran. When she arrived, I was already being intubated. The doctors worked fast. Bacterial meningitis is an emergency. Every minute counts. They gave antibiotics, corticosteroids, anticonvulsants. My body wasn't responding. Blood pressure dropped. The heart began to fail. And then, at 5:43 p.m. on that March 12th, my heart stopped. The first thing I noticed was the silence. But it wasn't an absence of sound. It was a full, dense, almost tangible silence, as if it had texture, weight, color. It was a silence that embraced, that welcomed. For the first time in my life, my mind stopped screaming. There was no more pain. None. The unbearable headache? Gone. The fever that burned my body from the inside? Disappeared. It was as if someone had turned off all the alarms at once. Peace. Complete. Absolute. I didn't even know it was possible to feel such peace. I felt my body become light. No, that wasn't quite it. It was as if I no longer had a body, or as if the body I now had was made of something different, lighter than air, more subtle than thought. And then I floated. Yes, I floated. Without effort. Not like in dreams where you have to flap your arms or think hard. It was natural, like breathing, like existing. I was just there, suspended, free. I opened my eyes, or whatever it was I was using to see, and saw myself standing next to the stretcher, except my body was lying there, pale, motionless, bluish, tubes coming out of my nose and mouth, wires connected to my chest, machines beeping frantically, doctors around doing CPR. I heard one of them shout, "No heartbeat! Prepare the defibrillator." A nurse ran, brought the paddles. Another cleared everyone away. "Clear! 3, 2, 1. My body jumped on the stretcher, but I felt nothing, because I wasn't there. I was here, to the side, watching that scene as if it were a movie where I was the protagonist, but also the spectator. I turned to the side and saw my mom. She was being held by a nurse, sobbing uncontrollably. Her legs failed. She fell to her knees. "No, please, no, she's all I have, please God. Don't take my daughter, take me, but don't take her." My spiritual heart, if I still had one, broke. I wanted to scream, "Mom, I'm here. I'm okay. Don't cry." But no sound came out. I tried to touch her shoulder, but my hand went through as if she were made of mist, or as if I were. I looked down the hallway and saw Gabriel. He was sitting in a blue plastic chair, hugging the old teddy bear I had given him on his 5th birthday. The bear was worn out, missing an ear, but he never wanted another. He was rocking back and forth, red eyes. Donna Teresa was next to him, her hand on his shoulder, praying quietly. I wanted to go to him, and the second I thought about it, I was already there. I didn't walk. I just was. As if thought and movement were the same thing. I knelt in front of Gabriel, trying to touch his face. "Gabi, I'm here, little brother. Don't cry. Clara is here." He didn't see me, but he felt it. He stopped rocking for a second, looked to the side, frowning as if he had heard something. Donna Teresa noticed. "What's wrong, son?" I felt Clara. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. I felt her close." Donna Teresa squeezed his shoulder. "She's with God now, son. God will take care of her." No, I thought. I'm not with God. Not yet. But something was calling me. I felt it. A pull. Gentle but firm. Like an invisible hand pulling me by the waist. I looked up, and that's when I saw it. The light. But it wasn't ordinary light. It wasn't sunlight or from a lamp. It was light that seemed alive. Golden, pulsating, warm, but that didn't burn. It was like looking at materialized love. I can't explain it better than that. The light came to me, enveloped me, and I began to rise. Or rather, to be carried. I had no control, but I also had no fear. The hospital scene became small, distant. I saw the ceiling, then the building, then the entire city from above. Everything so small, so fragile, so temporary. And then, I entered something I can only describe as a corridor, but it wasn't a physical corridor. It was made of pure energy. The walls, if they were walls, glowed in tones that don't exist on Earth. Electric blue, deep violet, liquid gold. They moved, danced, as if they were alive. I heard music, but not with my ears. It was as if every cell of my being vibrated in harmony with that sound. It had no lyrics, no defined melody. It was just perfection. It was as if all the beautiful music that had ever existed had merged into a single frequency. And that frequency was love. While crossing that corridor, memories began to emerge. Not like normal memories. They were vivid, three-dimensional. I was inside them. I saw my birth. I saw my mom holding me for the first time, crying with happiness. I saw my first step, my first word, the first day of school, the first time I cried because a friend hurt me. Everything, every moment, however small, was there. And with each memory came understanding, a deep comprehension of why that had happened. Nothing was random. Nothing was punishment. Everything, absolutely everything, had a purpose. I saw the time I fell off my bike and broke my arm. At the time, I thought it was unfair. Now, I saw that moment taught me about fragility, about accepting help, about letting others take care of me. I saw the time my best friend at school betrayed me, telling everyone my secret. At the time, I thought I would die of shame. Now, I saw that taught me about forgiveness, about not placing my happiness in others' hands. Every pain had been a lesson, every loss, an awakening. At the end of the corridor, a figure was waiting for me. At first, it was just a silhouette of light, but as I approached, the form became clearer. And then, I recognized. It was my grandmother, but not the grandmother from the last days, thin, fragile, yellowed by disease. It was her young, radiant, with black hair that I had only seen in old photos, with the wide smile that lit up any room. Her eyes, those brown eyes full of light, looked at me with so much love that I couldn't hold back. I cried, without tears, because I had no physical eyes, but I cried with my soul. "Grandma?" I murmured, not knowing if I had a mouth to speak. She smiled even wider. And then she spoke, not with audible words, but with thoughts that I heard perfectly inside my mind. "My girl, my Clara, you don't know how much I missed you." "Grandma, did I die?" She laughed, a gentle, musical laugh. "You didn't die, love. You were born." I didn't understand. She extended her hand and I took it. Her hand was warm, real, more real than anything I had touched on Earth. She pulled me gently, and we walked together. No, walked isn't the right word. We glided, we floated, we moved in a way that has no name in human vocabulary. "Where are we?" I asked. "Home," she replied simply. The corridor began to expand. The walls opened like curtains being pulled, and what was revealed before me took away any breath I might still have. It was a place, but it wasn't a place. It was a vast, infinite space, impossible to describe with earthly words. It wasn't heaven because there were no clouds. It wasn't earth because there was no solid ground. It was something between, or beyond, or above all that. Light came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The air, if there was air, was perfumed with something that reminded me of flowers, but also rain, also warm bread, also mother's embrace. All the good smells I had ever felt, multiplied and purified. Colors danced around, colors that don't exist in the human visible spectrum. How do you explain a purple that is also golden, a green that sings, a blue that embraces? I can't. But they were there, alive, conscious. And the presences. There were so many presences, beings of light in different forms. Some looked human, others were just luminous spheres, others still had forms that my mind couldn't completely process. But all without exception, radiated pure love. Some came to me. They didn't speak, but greeted. It was as if they recognized me, as if they were waiting for me. One of them, a gentle blue-green light, passed by me and left such a strong feeling of maternal peace that I knew, without knowing how, that it was an ancestor of mine who died before I was born. Another, a bright white light with silver tones, stayed by my side for a moment. I felt gratitude from it, deep gratitude. And then I understood. It was someone I had helped on Earth without knowing. Maybe with a smile, maybe with a word, maybe just by existing. And that simple gesture had changed their path. My grandmother guided me through this space. We passed something that looked like a garden, but not of physical plants. They were energy structures that grew and bloomed. Each one represented a soul, a story, a learning cycle. "Grandma, what is this place?" I asked, still trying to understand. "It doesn't have a name you would recognize. Some call it home, others heaven, others the astral plane, others unified consciousness. But deep down, Clara, this here is what it always was. Pure love. It's where we come from and where we return." "So God exists?" She smiled, and for the first time, hesitated before answering. "There is something greater than you can imagine. It's not a man with a white beard on a throne. It's not a religion. It's a consciousness, a source, a creative energy that permeates everything. You are part of that. I am part of that. We all are." That made sense in a way it never did on Earth. It wasn't about rules, about sin, about punishment. It was about connection, about unity. We continued moving, and the space changed again. Now we were in something that looked like an immense hall, but without walls or ceiling. And in the center, suspended in the air, was something that made my entire being vibrate. A book. But it wasn't an ordinary book. It was gigantic, but at the same time small enough to fit in the palm of a hand. It was made of liquid light, pure energy. Its pages weren't paper, but something alive, pulsating, that changed color as it breathed. "What is this?" I whispered. My grandmother gently let me go. "I'm not the one who's going to show you this, my girl. There's someone greater who wants to talk to you." I felt fear for the first time since arriving there. Not fear of danger, but that reverent fear, that deep respect before something incomprehensibly large. A presence approached. It had no defined form. It was a light so intense that I couldn't look directly. But at the same time, it didn't hurt my eyes because I had no physical eyes. It was masculine and feminine at the same time. It was ancient and new. It was everything and nothing. And from this presence emanated loving authority, infinite wisdom, compassion so vast that it made me fall spiritually to my knees. I thought, is this God? The answer came not as words, but as a warm thought that filled my entire being. I am part of everything, and you are also part of me. I cried. I cried like I had never cried before, not from sadness, but from relief, from recognition, from returning home after millennia lost. The presence came closer and I felt it touch me, not physically, but in essence. It was as if it was reading every line of my soul, every thought I had ever had, every choice I had ever made, every pain I had ever felt. And contrary to what I would expect, there was no judgment, only love, unconditional love, love that knew every flaw of mine and loved anyway, love that saw my worst moments and said, "It's okay, you're learning, you're growing." "Why am I here?" I managed to ask. "Because there's something you need to see, and something you need to take back." "Back? Am I going back?" "Yes, but first, look." The presence touched the book, and the pages began to turn by themselves. Each page of the book was a window to different realities, different times, different possibilities. The first page I saw showed my own life, but not the way I remembered it. It was more complete, more honest. I saw my birth again, but this time I saw what my mom was feeling. The pain of childbirth, yes, but also joy so deep that she cried while smiling. I saw my father at that moment, holding her hand, with tears in his eyes too. He was happy, genuinely happy. "Did he love me?" I asked, surprised. "Yes, he loved all of you, but he was lost. And sometimes, lost people hurt the people they love." I saw my childhood. I saw moments I had completely forgotten. My mom singing to me when I had nightmares. My father teaching me to ride a bike. Gabriel being born. And me, at 7 years old, promising myself I would always take care of him. I also saw the difficult moments. But this time, I saw from all angles. I saw my mom and dad fighting, but now I understood what they were discussing. Debts. Fear of the future. It wasn't about lack of love. It was about fear. I saw the day my father left. I saw him at the door with his suitcase in hand, crying. I saw my mom, pregnant with Gabriel, asking him to stay. I saw him saying, "I can't. I'll destroy you if I stay." And he believed that. He really believed he was protecting us by leaving. I saw my mom falling to the floor after he closed the door. I saw her crying all night. But I also saw her getting up in the morning, cleaning her face, and deciding, "I'm going to raise these children alone, and they'll know what love is." And she did. Every night she came home tired from the hospital and still made dinner. Every time she took extra shifts to buy a birthday present. Every forced smile to protect us from her pain. Everything was love, pure, unconditional, sacrificial. I cried seeing that. I cried because I finally understood. The pages continued turning. Now they showed things I hadn't lived yet. Or rather, that I wouldn't live because I was there. I saw my high school graduation, my mom in the audience, crying with pride. I saw teenage Gabriel, taller than me, hugging me and saying I was always his hero. I saw myself in college, studying psychology, working with traumatized children. I saw myself helping, healing, making a difference. I also saw a future where I didn't return. My mom never fully recovering. Gabriel closing himself off, carrying the guilt of having survived when I didn't. I saw him as an adult, distant, lost. "No," I murmured. "He can't stay like that. That's why you're going back." The pages turned faster now. What I saw was no longer about me. It was about the world. I saw cities, millions of people. I saw humanity from above, like a single pulsating organism. I saw beauty, people helping each other, children being born, art being created, cures being discovered. But I also saw pain, wars, hunger, hatred, separation. And then, the pages began to show the future. Not a fixed future, but possibilities. Timelines that bifurcated depending on collective choices. I saw a line where humanity chose love. I saw nations uniting. I saw borders disappearing. I saw people of all colors, creeds, and cultures working together. I saw technology being used to heal, to connect, to elevate. I saw Earth recovering, clean oceans, forests being reborn. I saw a spiritual golden age, where children grew up learning about compassion before mathematics, where leaders were chosen for wisdom, not power. But I also saw another line, a dark line. I saw fear growing. I saw leaders using that fear to gain power. I saw people being convinced that other peoples were enemies. I saw walls being built, not just physical ones, but emotional, spiritual ones. I saw misinformation spreading faster than truth. I saw technology being used to control, to manipulate, to separate. And then I saw the conflict. It didn't start with an explosion. It started with words, with lies repeated until they became truth in the minds of the masses, with old grudges being resurrected, with treaties being torn up, with alliances being broken. I saw the world's greatest nations positioning themselves as adversaries. I saw resources being disputed. I saw entire populations being manipulated by fear. And then I saw the first attack. Not nuclear, but cyber. Systems falling. Communications cut. Chaos. And in chaos, physical violence began. Not a world war in the traditional sense, but regional conflicts exploding simultaneously around the globe. Millions displaced. Hunger. Despair. But even in this grim scenario, I saw flashes of light. I saw ordinary people choosing differently. I saw doctors crossing battle lines to save enemies. I saw mothers protecting children who weren't theirs. I saw soldiers refusing unjust orders. I saw entire communities deciding they wouldn't participate in hatred. And each of these acts created a wave that spread, that inspired others, that slowly changed the tide. The present spoke again. Humanity is at a decision point. In the coming years, you'll see what was built on fear begin to crumble. Systems that seemed solid will prove fragile. Leaders who seemed strong will prove empty. And in the vacuum, there will be a choice: build from love or from separation. When? I asked, my voice trembling. When will this happen? The presence touched my forehead, and a certainty settled in me. It wasn't a date on the calendar, but a period, a time window that I felt in my cells. Before you turn 25, the world you know will have changed completely. The signs are already beginning. You'll see them when you return. Growing polarization, distrust of institutions, extreme climate events, pandemics. These aren't punishments, they're warnings. They're Earth and humanity asking to wake up. I saw more images. I saw 2025, 2026, 2027. I saw tensions increasing. I saw resources dwindling. I saw mass migrations. I saw economic systems destabilizing. And then, between 2028 and 2030, I saw the critical point, the moment where various crises would converge. But the presence touched the book again, and the images changed. But look at what's also possible. I saw the same period, but different. I saw, before the worst happened, an awakening. I saw millions of people, especially young ones, refusing the path of hatred. I saw peace movements spreading faster than war movements. I saw new technologies being developed not to destroy, but to sustain. I saw different leaders emerging, not traditional politicians, but ordinary people with extraordinary hearts. I saw that the future wasn't written. It was being written. With every moment, with every choice. Nothing is sealed, the presence said firmly. Free will is sacred. Every individual has the power to choose. And when many choose love, the entire reality changes. But how? How can we change something so big? It starts small. One person at a time. One act of kindness at a time. You don't need to save the entire world, Clara. You just need to light your light. And when you light your light, others see. And they light theirs. And thus darkness retreats. The book began to close, but before the last page disappeared, I saw one more thing. I saw myself. Older, maybe in my early 20s. I was somewhere, speaking to a group of people. It wasn't a big stage. It was a simple room. But people were listening attentively, and in their eyes I saw something igniting. Hope, understanding, remembrance. This is your mission, if you choose to accept it. I won't force you. You can stay here if you want. The peace you feel here, it will be yours forever. My spiritual heart split. Part of me wanted to stay so desperately. There was no pain, no fear, no loneliness. There I was complete. But I thought of my mom. I thought of Gabriel. I thought of the people I saw in that last vision. The people who would need to hear that there's something beyond pain. That death isn't the end. That love is eternal. I want to go back, I said. And in saying it, I felt it was true. But how will I remember all this? How will I explain? You'll remember what you need to remember when you need to remember. And the words will come. It won't always be easy. There will be moments when you'll doubt. Moments when you'll feel alone. Moments when people won't believe. But you'll have this. The presence touched my chest, exactly where the physical heart would be, and I felt something being placed inside me. It wasn't physical, but it was real. It was like a seed of light. Warm. Pulsating. Alive. This is a seal. A mark. You'll never again completely forget who you are. Even on dark days, this light will pulse inside you, reminding. I looked around one last time. So many presences, so many lights. And then I saw, far away, a figure that made my heart stop, if it was still beating. It was a man, younger than I expected, with dark hair and sad but gentle eyes. He didn't approach, but he looked at me. And in that look, there was love, there was regret, there was pride. "Dad," I whispered. He waved, slowly, and then put his hand on his heart. I understood the message. "I always loved you. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to stay." I cried, but there was no more anger, just understanding. He was so lost, so hurt, and now here, He was at peace. Healed. You'll see him again, the presence assured me. When your mission ends, you'll all reunite here. Nothing is lost forever. Love never dies. My grandmother returned to my side. She took my hand once more. I'll be with you, Clara. In dreams. In signs. In that chill you feel for no reason. In that music that plays when you're thinking of me. In that rose scent that appears from nowhere. It's me, saying, I'm here. I'm going to miss you, I said, my voice breaking. Missing is love that remains. And love never really separates us. You'll feel it, yes. But you'll also know. Know that I'm well. Know that we'll see each other again. And that will make the missing bearable. She hugged me. And in that embrace, I felt the love of all grandmothers who had ever existed. I felt centuries of feminine wisdom. I felt strength. Now go. Your mom is waiting. And you have work to do. The space began to change. The light began to dissolve. I felt that pull again, but now stronger. And then, like an inverted tide, like a wave returning to the sea, I was pulled back. The sensation was completely different from the journey there. There, everything had been gentle, welcoming, expansive. Now it was the opposite. It was like being compressed, squeezed, forced to fit in a space too tiny. Like trying to put the entire ocean inside a bottle. I felt weight. God, so much weight. The human body is so heavy, so dense, so limited. After experiencing the absolute freedom of being pure consciousness, returning to flesh was almost claustrophobic. Pain. Pain returned first. The headache, now dull, throbbing. The throat scratching because of the tube. Muscles aching from seizures. Every cell in my body screamed discomfort. Sounds. The monotonous beep of machines. Muffled voices. Hurried footsteps. Everything so loud, so harsh. After perfect silence, after that celestial music, earthly sounds seemed like pure noise. I tried to open my eyes. My eyelids were heavy, stuck. I forced them. A sliver of light entered, raw and too white. I blinked again. Gradually, shapes began to define themselves. The white hospital ceiling, a fluorescent lamp, an IV hanging next to the bed, and then, a face. My mom. She was standing next to the bed, holding my hand so tightly it hurt. Her face was swollen from crying so much. Red eyes, disheveled hair. She was still wearing the hospital uniform, but dirty, wrinkled as if she had slept in it. When she realized my eyes were open, that I was looking at her, her face transformed. It was like seeing the sun rise after the darkest night. Clara! Clara! My God, doctor, she's awake! She's awake! Her voice was hoarse, broken, desperate. She squeezed my hand even tighter, leaned down, kissed my forehead, my face, my hands. My daughter, you came back, you came back. Thank God, thank God. I tried to speak, but couldn't. The tube in my throat prevented it. I tried to make some sound. Only a moan came out. A doctor rushed in, followed by 2 nurses. They began examining, checking vital signs, writing things on clipboards. I heard fragments of sentences, pressure stabilizing, reflexes present, spontaneous breathing. It's a miracle, really. The doctor, a woman about 40 with glasses and hair pulled back in a tight bun, leaned over me. Clara, can you hear me? If you can hear me, squeeze my hand. I squeezed. Weak, but I squeezed. She smiled, a tired but relieved smile. Very good. You're in the hospital. You had severe bacterial meningitis. Your heart stopped for 7 minutes. But you came back. You're here. You're safe. 7 minutes. 7 minutes where I lived an eternity. They carefully removed the tube from my throat. The sensation was horrible, as if they were tearing something from inside me. I coughed. I choked. My mom held my head, ran her hand through my hair. Easy, honey. Easy. It's over. It's over. When I finally managed to speak, my voice came out weak, scratchy, almost unrecognizable. Mom? She collapsed. Literally fell to her knees beside the bed, her head on my chest, sobbing so hard her entire body shook. I thought I had lost you. I thought you had gone away. I didn't know what to do. I prayed so much. So much. I begged God. I promised anything. Anything if he brought you back. And he did. He brought you back to me. I lifted my hand, heavy as lead, and placed it on her head. I'm here, Mom. I'm here. The doctors gave a few more instructions, adjusted some medications, and then left the room, giving us a moment of privacy. My mom got up, wiped her face with her uniform sleeve, forced a smile through the tears. Gabriel is out there. He didn't want to leave. He spent the whole night in the hallway. Can I call him? I nodded yes. She left quickly and returned seconds later with Gabriel. He was smaller than I remembered, more fragile, the teddy bear still pressed against his chest. When he saw me awake, he froze in the doorway. Clara? Hi, little brother, I whispered. He ran. He ran and threw himself on me, almost suffocating me in a too-tight hug. He cried. He cried in a way I had never seen, with loud, childish, desperate sobs. I thought you had died. I thought you had left me. I promised I would stop fighting with you. I promised I would always obey. Just come back. Please, come back. I came back, Gabby. I came back. I'm not going anywhere. My mom stood there watching us, and on her face I saw something I'll never forget. Absolute gratitude. Relief. But also something more. A strange reverence. As if she knew somehow that something greater had happened. The following days were a fog of exams, medications, visits from doctors and nurses. My body was slowly recovering. The infection was being controlled by antibiotics. The fever had dropped. But I was exhausted. Every movement was a monumental effort. I slept a lot. But even sleeping, the dreams were intense. They weren't ordinary dreams. They were like visits. Sometimes I saw my grandmother, sitting in a chair next to my bed, just looking at me with that sweet smile. Sometimes I saw other presences, lights hovering around, as if they were protecting me. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night and saw something that made me question if I was still dreaming. A gentle golden light hovered in the corner of the room. It wasn't the light from the hospital hallway. It was different, warmer, more alive. And then I heard, not with my ears, but with my heart, my grandmother's voice. You're doing well, my girl. Stay strong. It's not time to tell everything yet. Wait, the right moment will come. I blinked, and the light disappeared. I thought I was delirious. Effect of the medications, maybe. But deep down, I knew. She was there, taking care of me, as always. On the third day, I managed to sit up in bed. On the fourth day, I managed to eat by myself. On the fifth, I took some wobbly steps to the bathroom with a nurse's help. The doctors were impressed. They said my recovery was extraordinary, that I shouldn't be alive, much less recovering so quickly. They did CT scans, MRIs, endless blood tests. Everything came back normal, or almost normal. It's inexplicable, said Dr. Mendez, the neurologist who was following me. Bacterial meningitis of the degree you had usually leaves severe sequelae. Neurological damage, hearing loss, motor problems. But you're almost intact. It's a miracle. My mom, hearing this, just smiled and looked up, whispering a silent, "Thank you." Visits began. Donna Teresa came, bringing a cake she made especially for me. She cried seeing me awake. Some of my mom's colleagues came too. And Julia, my childhood friend, made her mom drive 3 hours to visit me. When Julia entered the room and saw me sitting on the bed, she stopped, hand to her mouth. "My God, Clara. You're here." "I am," I said, smiling weakly. She approached slowly, as if afraid I would disappear if she moved too fast. She sat on the edge of the bed, took my hand. I felt when it happened. I can't explain. I was at home, doing homework, and suddenly I felt such a strong tightness in my chest that I had to stop. I looked at the clock. It was 5:43 p.m., and I knew. I knew something had happened to you. My heart jumped. 5:43 p.m., the exact time my heart stopped. "How did you know?" I asked with goosebumps. She shook her head. "I don't know. I just knew. I called your mom, but she didn't answer. I was desperate all night until she called me back in the morning, saying you were in the hospital, that it had been serious, but that you had come back. We were silent for a moment, and then she asked quietly, "What did you see, Clara, when you were there?" I looked at her, at those curious, scared, hopeful brown eyes, and I wanted to tell. I wanted to pour everything out, but I remembered what my grandmother had said. "It's not time yet." "I saw peace," I said finally. "I saw that there's nothing to fear." She squeezed my hand tighter. "Someday you'll tell me everything, right?" "Someday," I promised. I was discharged on the 8th day. The doctors were still hesitant, wanted to keep me under observation longer, but all the tests came back normal. And I begged. I begged to go home. I needed to get out of that hospital. The white walls, the smell of disinfectant, the sounds of machines, everything reminded me of death. And ironically, after having died, I wanted to live fully. My mom managed to convince Dr. Mendez. He gave in, but with the condition that I return for weekly consultations and continue taking medications religiously. The morning I left was sunny, one of those late summer mornings where the sky is impossibly blue and the air smells of possibilities. Gabriel had brought clean clothes for me, my favorite jeans and a yellow blouse my grandmother had given me months before she died. When I put on the blouse, I smelled her scent. Impossible, I know. The blouse had been washed dozens of times since then, but I swear I felt it. Roses and talcum powder, my grandmother's perfume. The nurse took me to the exit in a wheelchair, hospital protocol. My mom pushed. Gabriel walked beside me, holding my hand. In the lobby, some people stopped and looked. An elderly lady approached and touched my shoulder. "You're the miracle girl, right? The one who came back from the dead?" I felt my face flush. I nodded shyly. She smiled, eyes full of tears. "God bless you, child. You're here for a reason." I couldn't answer. I just smiled back. In the car, on the way home, I kept looking out the window. Everything seemed different, more alive, more colorful. The trees seemed greener, the sky bluer. Even the gray asphalt had a beauty I had never noticed before. "Are you okay?" my mom asked, looking at me in the rearview mirror. "I am. It's just that everything seems so beautiful." She smiled, but in her eyes I saw concern. She knew something in me had changed. Mothers always know. When we got home, Dona Teresa had decorated the door with a banner that said, "Welcome back, Clara," in colorful letters. Tears filled my eyes. Entering the house was like entering another kind of sanctuary. Everything was exactly as I had left it. My backpack still thrown on the sofa. My drawing notebook on the coffee table. The mug I had used for breakfast that Thursday was still in the sink. Washed, but there. I went straight to my room. My bed was made. My mom had changed the sheets, put on clean ones that smelled of fabric softener. I sat on the edge and just breathed. Gabriel appeared in the doorway. "Can I come in?" Of course. He entered slowly and sat beside me. We were silent for a while, and then he asked, "Did you go to heaven?" I looked at him, at those big, innocent eyes full of genuine curiosity. There was no way to lie to him. I did. "And what's it like there?" It's beautiful. Very beautiful. And Grandma is there. She's well. She sent you a kiss." His eyes widened. "Really?" "Really." He was quiet, processing. Then he asked, "Was God there?" "There was. Something very big, very loving. I think it was God, yes." "Is he nice?" I smiled. "Very nice. Nicer than we imagine." Gabriel rested his head on my shoulder. "I'm happy you came back." "Me too, little brother. Me too." In the following days, I began to notice changes in me. They weren't physical. Physically, I was recovering well. But there was something different, something deep. I felt things differently now, more intensely. When my mom came home, I didn't just see that she was tired. I felt her tiredness. I literally felt it, as if it were mine. When Gabriel was sad, even pretending to be fine, I knew. I felt a stab in my chest that told me exactly what he was feeling. At first, I thought I was going crazy. How could I feel others' emotions? But then I remembered what the presence had said. Your pain had a purpose. It prepared you to feel others' pain. And when you feel, you can heal. I began to test it. When Gabriel was feeling bad, I would go to him, put my hand on his shoulder, and simply stay there, feeling with him. And something incredible happened. He would calm down. His pain would diminish. It didn't disappear completely, but it became lighter, bearable. With my mom, it was the same. On nights when she came home especially destroyed, I would make tea for both of us, sit beside her, and just be present. I wouldn't speak. I would just be. And I would see the tension in her shoulders relaxing, her breathing slowing down. The dreams also continued. Almost every night I had visions. Sometimes they were people I knew. I would see my literature teacher crying in the car before entering school. The next day, when I saw her, I asked if she was okay. She was surprised, but ended up opening up. She was going through a difficult divorce. I offered my shoulder, my listening, and I saw in her eyes that it had made a difference. Other times, the dreams were about the world. I saw images of places I had never visited, cities in other countries, events happening. At first, I didn't pay much attention, but then I began to see on the news. The things I dreamed about happened, days or weeks later. I dreamed of an earthquake in an Asian country. 3 weeks later, it happened. I dreamed of a political leader suddenly resigning. 10 days later, I saw it on TV. I was scared, and fascinated, and confused. I wrote everything down in my diary, pages and pages of dreams, visions, sensations. I tried to find patterns, understand what was happening to me. One night, 2 weeks after returning home, I had the most intense dream yet. I was again on that plane of light, but this time, I wasn't alone. There were dozens, maybe hundreds of other people there, all young like me, all radiating light, all looking at me. And then the presence appeared again, that vast, loving, ancient presence. "You are the seeds," it said, speaking to all of us at once. "You were planted at this moment in history for a reason. The world is entering a period of darkness, but you are the light that will guide. Each of you has a role. Each of you has gifts. Use them. Don't be afraid." I looked around. All those faces, young people from all parts of the world, all colors, all cultures, but united by the same thing: love, mission, purpose. I woke from that dream with tears on my face, and I knew I wasn't alone. There were others like me, others who had seen, others who had returned, others who were preparing. It took me 3 weeks to finally tell my mom everything. I couldn't hold it in anymore. It was too big a weight to carry alone. I chose a Friday night when Gabriel was sleeping at a friend's house. I prepared chamomile tea for both of us. We sat on the back porch, where the stars were visible despite the city's light pollution. "Mom, I need to tell you something." She looked at me, already serious. Mothers have a sixth sense for these things. "You can speak, honey." I took a deep breath. When I was in the hospital, when my heart stopped, I didn't stay unconscious. I went to another place. She said nothing, just waited. And then I let everything out. I told about the corridor of light, about my grandmother, about the presences, about the book, about the mission, about the visions of the future, about everything. I spoke for almost an hour without stopping. Words poured out like a torrent, as if they had been dammed up and finally found an opening. My mom didn't interrupt me once. She just held my hand and listened. When I finished, I was silent, waiting for her to say they were hallucinations, that it was the brain without oxygen creating illusions, that I needed a psychologist. But that's not what she said. She was quiet for a long moment, looking at the stars. Then she wiped the tears flowing down her face and turned to me. "I always knew you were different, Clara, since you were born. When I held you for the first time, I looked into your eyes and saw something ancient, as if you had already lived 1,000 lives before this one." My heart accelerated. "Do you believe me?" She squeezed my hand. "Honey, I've worked in hospitals for 20 years. I've seen things medicine can't explain. I've seen terminal patients recover for no reason. I've seen others, healthy ones, leave out of nowhere. I've seen coma patients point to empty corners of the room and smile before dying. I've seen many things." She paused. "And there was that night. The night when your heart stopped. I was by your side when it happened. I saw the monitors flatline. I heard the alarm. I saw the doctors working on you. And Clara, I saw something. What? I whispered. A light, gentle, golden, coming out of you, rising. I thought I was going crazy. I blinked, looked again, and it was disappearing. No one else saw it. Just me. And in that moment, I knew. You weren't there anymore. You had gone. Tears were flowing down my face now. So you know. You know it's true. I know, honey. I always knew there's more between heaven and earth than our vain philosophy can imagine. We stayed embraced for a long time, and for the first time since I returned, I felt I could breathe completely. Someone knew. Someone believed. And about these visions you're having, she continued. About the future, about the conflict, do you think it will really happen? I thought before answering. I think it could happen, but I also think it can be prevented. Or at least lessened. That's what they showed me. The future isn't fixed. It depends on us, on our choices. My mom nodded slowly. So what's your role in all this? What's your mission? I don't know completely yet, but I think it has to do with reminding people, reminding them that there's more than this here, that death isn't the end, that love is eternal, that we're all connected. And how will you do that? I don't know. But I know that when the time comes, I'll know. She kissed my forehead. Then I'll be by your side. Always. I returned to school 6 weeks after the hospital. It was strange. Bizarre even. Everyone looked at me as if I were some kind of celebrity or freak, depending on who was looking. The story had spread. The girl who died and came back. Some came to talk to me with morbid curiosity. How was it? Did you see the light? Did you see God? Did you see hell? Others avoided me, as if death were contagious. In the first days, I tried to return to normalcy, attend classes, do assignments, talk about trivial things. But it was difficult. How could I care about who was dating whom when I had seen what I saw? How could I worry about test grades when I knew there was something infinitely greater waiting for all of us? But I tried. For Gabriel. For my mom. For myself, too. I needed some normalcy. It was on a Tuesday, 3 weeks after returning to classes, that it happened the first time. I was during break, alone in the library as usual, when a sophomore girl approached. I knew her by sight. Camilla, I think. Short hair, always quiet, always alone, too. She sat in the chair next to me without asking permission. You're Clara, right? The one who came back? I am, I replied, closing the book I was pretending to read. She was quiet for a moment, fidgeting with her hands. Then she said, so low I almost didn't hear. My dad died 3 months ago. Cancer. He suffered a lot at the end. And I'm so scared. Scared that he's still suffering. Scared that there's nothing after. Scared that I'll never see him again. My heart clenched. I looked at her, at those red eyes, swollen from crying alone, and I knew. This was one of the moments I had returned for. I took her hand. He's not suffering. Suffering stays here, on this plane. There, he's at peace. Completely at peace. And he's with you. Not the way he was before, but he is. In dreams, in signs, in that chill you feel out of nowhere, in that music that reminds you of him that plays when you need it most. It's him, saying, I'm here. She looked at me with wide eyes. How do you know? Because I saw. I was there. And I guarantee you, Camilla, your dad is fine. And you'll see each other again. She broke down. She cried on my shoulder for long minutes. And when she pulled away, there was something different in her face. It wasn't exactly happiness, but it was relief. It was hope. Thank you, she whispered. You don't know how much I needed to hear that. After that day, others began to come, one at a time, always discreetly, always with their pains, their losses, their fears. A boy who had lost his sister in a car accident. A teacher who had lost her baby son. A janitor who had lost his wife. They all came to me, and I shared what I could. Not as someone superior, not as a guru, but as someone who had seen and returned to tell. I began to understand my mission. It wasn't to save the world. It wasn't to prevent wars alone. It was this: It was to welcome. It was to witness. It was to remind, one person at a time, that there is love beyond death. As the months passed, I began to notice the signs the presence had mentioned, the signs that the world was approaching that critical point. I saw it in the news. Countries distancing themselves from each other, ancient alliances falling apart, leaders using increasingly divisive language, fear being sold as a solution, they always being blamed, we always being victims. I saw it on social media, people attacking each other for different opinions, families dividing over politics, friendships ending over ideological differences. Dialogue was dying, empathy was dying, the humanity of the other was dying. I saw it in climate events, stronger hurricanes, longer droughts, more devastating fires. Earth was screaming, but few were listening. I saw it in diseases, new strains emerging, healthcare systems overloaded, fear of pandemics, and with fear, more division, more blame, more hatred. It was like watching in slow motion the construction of what I had been shown in the Book of Light. But I also saw the other side. I saw movements of young people demanding change. I saw communities uniting to care for the most vulnerable. I saw acts of kindness that never made headlines but changed lives. I saw resistance. I saw love. And I understood. The battle wasn't just external, it was internal. It was happening in the heart of every person. Fear or love, separation or connection, ego or soul. I began writing more seriously, not just in my diary, but texts I shared. I created a simple blog, anonymous at first. I wrote about loss, about grief, about hope, about what I saw from the other side. At first, I had few readers, 10, 15 people. But the comments I received were profound. You saved my life today. I was going to give up, but your words gave me strength to continue. I lost my mom last month and couldn't accept it. Now I have peace. Each comment was a reminder. I was on the right path. When I turned 17, I decided to make my blog public. I put my real name. I told my complete story. The meningitis, clinical death, the journey, everything. The response was immediate. In 1 week, I had 1,000 readers. In 1 month, 10,000. I received invitations to give talks at schools, grief support groups, churches. I was scared at first, afraid of exposure, afraid of judgment, afraid of not being up to it. But my mom said something that changed my perspective. Clara, you're not doing this for you. You're doing it for people who need to hear. And they don't care if you're perfect. They care that you're real. So I accepted. I began to speak. The first lecture was at a school in the city's outskirts. A class of teenagers who had lost classmates to violence. I was terrified. My hands were sweating. My voice was trembling. But when I started speaking, something happened. Words flowed. They were no longer my words. It was as if I were a channel. As if the presence I met on the other side was speaking through me. I told my story. I told about the light, about love, about everyone's mission. And I saw in those young people's eyes something awakening. Hope. Purpose. At the end, a boy approached. He couldn't have been more than 15. Hard eyes, but wet. My brother was killed last year. They took him from me over $10. $10. I was planning revenge. I already knew who it was. I already had what I needed. But I came here today because my mom made me. He paused. You just saved 2 lives. The life of the guy I was going to kill. And mine. Because if I had done that, I would have died too. Maybe not physically, but inside. He hugged me and cried. In that moment, I understood. Every person I reached, every heart I touched, was a wave. And that wave spread. That boy wasn't going to kill. He was going to live. He was going to, maybe, help others. And thus, line by line, the book of the future was rewritten. When I turned 18, the signs became impossible to ignore. The world was on the brink of something big. I felt it in my cells. Regional conflicts that had been dormant for decades were restarting. World powers were choosing sides. The language used by leaders became increasingly aggressive. preemptive defense, existential threat, red line. The global economy began to creak, stock markets plummeting, currencies devaluing, essential resources becoming scarce, and with scarcity, fear, and with fear, violence. On social media, misinformation spread faster than ever. Perfect deep fakes. Fake news indistinguishable from real. No one knew what to believe anymore. Trust was dying. And then the cyber attacks began. Big ones, coordinated, banking systems falling, power grids failing, communications interrupted. It was never clear who was responsible. Each side blamed the other. I saw everything and remembered the book. The images that had been shown to me. It was happening, exactly as predicted. But I also saw the other side. Millions of people around the world awakening. Young people mainly. Refusing the narrative of fear. Organizing peace movements. Creating mutual support networks. Planting community gardens. Sharing resources. Taking care of each other. My blog now had hundreds of thousands of followers. I received daily messages from people around the world, all saying the same thing. I also feel something is coming. I also want to make a difference. What do I do? And my answer was always the same. Start where you are. Love those close to you. Be kind to the supermarket cashier. Smile at the stranger on the street. Forgive those who hurt you. Take care of Earth. Take care of each other. Every small act is a revolution. Some people were frustrated with this answer. They wanted something bigger, more dramatic. But I knew. I had seen. Real change happens in the micro, not the macro. It was in September, right after my 18th birthday, that I received a different invitation. An international peace organization wanted me to speak at a global event. It would be broadcast to more than 50 countries. Millions would watch. I was paralyzed. It was too big, too important. I was just a girl. But that night, I had a dream. I was again on the plane of light. The presence was there. You're ready, it said. I'm not. I don't know what to say to millions of people. You don't need to know. Just open your mouth. The words will come. They always have. What if I fail? There's no failure in speaking your truth with love. I woke up with my heart racing, but with clarity. I would accept. The event happened in November. It was a large auditorium in a city I had never visited. Spiritual leaders, activists, war survivors, all speaking about peace, about unity, about hope. I was the last to speak. Backstage, my hands were shaking. My mom was with me. Gabriel, too. Now 11 years old, he had insisted on coming. You're going to kill it, sis, he said, hugging me. My mom just held my face between her hands and said, remember who you are. Remember where you've been. And speak from the heart. When they called me, I walked to the stage on wobbly legs. The audience was immense. Lights, cameras, thousands of faces looking at me, and beyond them, through screens, millions more. I stood in the center of the stage, the microphone in front of me. Total silence. I took a deep breath and began. My name is Clara. When I was 15 years old, I died. A murmur ran through the audience. My heart stopped for 7 minutes. In those 7 minutes, I went to a place I don't have adequate words to describe. But I'll try. And then I told. I told everything. For the first time in complete detail, to the entire world. The light, my grandmother, the presences, the book, the visions of the future. They showed me 2 possible paths for humanity. In one, we choose fear. We build walls. We see the other as enemy. And on that path, there is war. There is suffering. There is destruction. And this could happen soon. Very soon. All the signs are there. Pause. Absolute silence. But they also showed me another path. A path where we choose love. Where we remember that we're all made of the same essence. Where every act of kindness changes the trajectory. And that path is also available. Now. Today. I looked at the audience. At all those eyes fixed on me. I know it seems impossible. How can an 18-year-old girl, how can any of us make a difference in the face of something so big? But on the other side, they told me something I'll never forget. You don't need to change the entire world. You just need to change the world around you. A smile, a kind word, forgiveness, an act of courage, and it spreads. Like waves. I felt tears flowing down my face, but I didn't stop. For those who lost someone and are afraid of never seeing them again, they're fine. They're at peace. And they're waiting for you. Death isn't the end. It's just a door. For those who are angry, with hatred, with desire for revenge, I understand. But that will destroy you from the inside. Not because of them, because of you. Choose forgiveness. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. For those who are hopeless, for those who think it's too late, it's not. While there's life, there's choice. And every choice counts. I made one last pause. In the coming years, we'll be tested as humanity. We'll see difficult things. We'll be tempted by fear, by anger, by separation. But please, remember, we are all one. We are all made of love. And love always, always wins. Silence. And then, one person started clapping. Then another. And another. And in seconds, the entire auditorium was standing, applauding, crying. I left the stage trembling. My mom hugged me tight. You did it, honey. You did it. That night, the video of my speech went viral. In 48 hours, it had been seen by more than 50 million people. I received thousands of messages, most thanking, some calling me crazy, some saying I had saved lives, and that's how everything changed. Today, 3 years after that speech, as I write this, I'm 21 years old. The world has changed a lot, and hasn't changed at all. Did the conflict I was shown happen? In parts. There were confrontations, crises, moments when it seemed we would really fall into the abyss. But there was also resistance. There were millions choosing differently, and that made a difference. We're not in the golden age I was shown as a possibility, but we're also not in the apocalypse. We're in the middle. In the daily struggle between light and shadow, between love and fear. And me? I continue doing my work, one heart at a time. Gabriel is now 14 years old, the same age I was when I died. He's become an incredible young man, gentle, conscious, and he also has gifts. He sees things. He feels things. I'm helping him understand, not to be afraid. My mom retired from the hospital last year. Now she works with me, helping organize support meetings for the bereaved. She found her purpose too. I continue having visions, dreams, contact with the other side. My grandmother still visits me regularly, and sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes I feel that great presence, the same one that touched me from the other side, reminding me, guiding me. I still don't know if we'll manage to avoid the worst. I still see worrying signs, but I also see more light than before, more awakened people, more open hearts. And I learned something important. I don't need to save everyone. It's not my responsibility to carry the world. It's just my responsibility to be light where I am. If you've made it this far, to the end of this story, it wasn't by chance. Nothing is by chance. Maybe you're suffering now. Maybe you've lost someone you loved more than your own life. Maybe you're questioning whether it's worth continuing. Maybe you look at the world and see only darkness. I need you to know something. Something I saw with my own eyes, that I felt with my own soul. You are not alone. You never have been. There is love around you so vast, so deep, so unconditional, that your mind cannot fully comprehend. But your soul knows. Your soul always knew. Those you lost didn't disappear. They're not in some distant and unreachable place. They're here, closer than you imagine. In that sudden thought about them, in that music that plays when you need it most, in that vivid dream where everything seemed real, in that scent that appears from nowhere, in that unexplained chill. It's them, saying, I'm here, I'm well, and I'm waiting for you. Death is not the end. It's just a change of address. Consciousness continues. Love continues. Everything that really matters continues. And about your pains, your losses, your traumas, none of it was in vain. Every tear you shed watered something inside you, something that will still bloom and help others. Your pain has purpose. Your suffering is preparing you to be a channel of healing. About the world's future, yes. Difficult times will come. Maybe they're already here. But you're stronger than you imagine. And you don't have to face it alone. Your mission isn't to save the entire world. It's just to be light where you are. A smile for someone who's sad. A kind word for someone who's lost. A hug for someone who's broken. Forgiveness for those who hurt you. Compassion for those who think differently. This changes everything. Every small act of love creates waves you'll never see completely. But they exist. They spread. They transform. So if you're thinking of giving up, don't give up. If you think you don't make a difference, you do. If you feel you're alone in the darkness, look around. There are others carrying lights too. And if you lost someone and the longing hurts so much it seems impossible to continue, no, you'll see each other again. This is a promise. A certainty I brought back. One day, sooner or later, we'll all cross through that door. And when that happens, only one question will matter. Did you love? Did you love even when it was difficult? Did you forgive even when it seemed impossible? Did you choose light even surrounded by darkness? Were you kind even when others weren't? Did you see humanity in every person, even in those who tried to take yours? If the answer is yes, you will have fulfilled your mission, and you'll be received with open arms in a home where there's no more pain, no more fear, no more separation. Only love, pure, eternal, infinite. So live, love, be light, because this world with all its problems is still sacred. Every sunrise is a miracle. Every breath is a gift. Every heartbeat is an opportunity to do differently. And you, who are reading this right now, at this exact moment, your life has purpose, even if you don't see it yet, even if you don't understand, even if you're broken, lost, hopeless. You're here for a reason, and that reason will reveal itself. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will. So breathe. Continue. One day at a time, one step at a time, one choice at a time. Choose love. Always. Because on the other side of this thin veil we call life, there's love waiting for you that is so immense, so perfect, so absolute, that it will make every tear you shed here worth it. And when you finally get there, when you cross through that portal of light, when you're embraced by that infinite presence, you'll understand. Everything made sense. Everything was necessary. Everything was love. If this story touched you, if something inside your chest awakened reading these words, I ask you, don't keep it just to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to read this, with that friend who's grieving, with that family member who lost hope, with that stranger on social media who's silently screaming for help. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications, because more stories will come. Stories that will remind you of who you really are, where you really came from, where you're really going. And if you're going through something now, leave a comment, even if it's just a heart, so I know you're there. And you'll know you're not alone, because we're all part of the same web, the same consciousness, the same love. Every pain you feel, I feel. Every victory of yours I celebrate. Every tear of yours I keep. We are one. We always have been. We always will be. And when we all remember that, when we choose love above fear, when we see the divine in every person, nothing can stop us. The golden age I was shown as possibility isn't a fantasy. It's a destiny we can choose. Together. So I ask you now, with all the love I received from the other side, will you choose love today? Will you be kind even when no one is watching? Will you forgive even when it hurts? Will you believe there's goodness, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise? Will you remember every day that you are eternal, that you are loved, that you are light? If yes, then welcome. Welcome to the silent army of those who chose differently, of those who refused fear, of those who decided that love, not hatred, will have the last word. We are not many, but we are enough. And our light, small as it may seem, is changing the world. One soul at a time. One heart at a time. One choice at a time. Clara's crossing doesn't end here. It continues with every breath, with every act of kindness, with every moment when someone, somewhere, reads these words and decides, I will choose love. And thus, line by line, choice by choice, the book of the future is rewritten. Not by distant gods, not by powerful leaders, but by you, by me, by all of us, together. Because death is not the end. Love never dies. And you, my friend, you are eternal. We'll see each other on the other side. But until then, live, love, be light. Because that's the only purpose that really matters.